The appraiser's hands trembled as he set down his loupe. "Mrs. Harrison, do you understand what you're holding?" Nora stared at the velvet-lined drawer she'd discovered beneath the cheap wooden bottom of her grandmother's jewelry box. 12 stones glittered against black fabric, each no bigger than her thumbnail. Costume jewelry? These are uncut diamonds. Museum grade. Conservatively, and I mean conservatively, you're looking at $200 million. Possibly closer to 3. That was 6 weeks ago. 2 months earlier, Nora Harrison sat across from her divorce lawyer in an office that smelled like leather and broken promises. Her soon-to-be ex-husband's attorney was talking settlement terms. Every word felt like a punch. "Mr. Harrison is willing to offer $20,000 and the 2015 Honda Civic," the man said, barely looking at her. Given that Mrs. Harrison brought no significant assets to the marriage, "I worked," Nora said quietly. "I put him through business school. Without compensation. Not employment as defined by." Stop. Her lawyer, Janet, held up a hand. "We'll accept the car and $30,000. But Nora keeps all personal items that belong to her family. Non-negotiable." Marcus's lawyer smirked. "The grandmother's estate? Please. We inventoried it. Thrift store furniture and costume jewelry. Mr. Harrison has no interest in any of it." Janet looked at Nora. Nora nodded. Numb. What did it matter? The jewelry box, the quilts, the photo albums, they had no cash value. They wouldn't pay next month's rent on the studio apartment she'd barely afford on her bakery wages. "Fine," Janet said. "Draw up the papers." After they left, Janet turned to Nora. "Listen to me. Keep everything from your grandmother. Don't let him back in to grab one last thing. Don't be generous. That jewelry box, those photo albums, they're yours. Understood? It's junk, Janet. It's your junk. And men like Marcus always come back for one more thing once they realize the divorce is real. Don't give him the satisfaction." Nora moved into the studio apartment on a Tuesday. 400 square feet. The bathroom door didn't close all the way. The radiator clanked like it was angry. But it was hers for now. Rent was $740 a month. Her checking account held $1,247.82 after Marcus cleaned out their savings. The bakery paid $13.50 an hour. She'd done the math 100 times. If she worked 45 hours a week and ate mostly rice and eggs, she could make it work. Barely. The boxes from Grandma Dottie's house sat stacked against one wall. Nora hadn't opened them yet. Opening them meant accepting that Grandma was really gone, that the woman who'd raised her after Mom died was just absent. Forever. Her phone buzzed. "Marcus, need to swing by and grab some stuff. Tomorrow at 6? Nora's stomach clenched. She'd given him everything else. What more could he want? "No," she typed. Then deleted it. Then typed it again and hit send before she could overthink. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Whatever. Your loss. Nora set the phone down and looked at the boxes. The jewelry box sat on top of the nearest stack, walnut wood dulled with age. She lifted it carefully. It weighed almost nothing. Inside, the top tray held exactly what she remembered. Grandma Dottie's clip-on earrings, a tangled gold chain, a brooch shaped like a dragonfly with missing rhinestones. Nothing valuable. Nothing Marcus would want. She almost closed it. But something made her look closer. The bottom of the box seemed shallow compared to its external height. She ran her fingers along the edges, pressing gently. A soft click. The wooden bottom lifted, revealing a hidden drawer. Inside, on a bed of black velvet, 12 stones caught the overhead light. They looked like rough glass, geometric and cloudy. Each sat in its own small depression, carefully positioned. Nora lifted one. It was heavier than it looked, cold against her palm. There was something about the way light moved through it, not sparkling, exactly, but refracting in a way that made her breath catch. She pulled out her phone and Googled identifying rough diamonds. The images that loaded made her hands start shaking. The next morning, Nora called in sick to the bakery for the first time in 3 years. She took 2 buses and walked 4 blocks to a jeweler Janet had mentioned once, someone discreet, someone who'd worked with her on estate cases. Bernard's fine jewelry sat between a check-cashing place and a nail salon, easy to miss. The interior was all dark wood and display cases that had seen better decades. An older man looked up from his workbench. "Help you? I need something appraised." "My lawyer, Janet Kowalski. She said you were trustworthy." His expression softened. "Janet's good people. What V you got? Nora set the jewelry box on the counter. Her hands shook as she opened it, revealed the false bottom, lifted out the drawer. Bernard went very still. He reached for a jeweler's loupe, then stopped. Where did you get these? My grandmother. She died 4 months ago. I just found them yesterday. And your grandmother was? Dorothy Chun. She immigrated in 1978. Worked as a seamstress for 40 years. Lived in the same rent-controlled apartment until she died. Nora's voice cracked. She had nothing. We had nothing. Bernard picked up one stone with tweezers, examining it under magnification. His breathing changed. Miss Chen, I need you to wait here. Don't touch anything. I'm calling someone. What? What? He met her eyes. Because I can't appraise what I'm seeing. This is beyond my expertise. But if I'm right, and I pray I am, you need security and documentation immediately. I don't understand. These aren't normal diamonds. The cut, the clarity, the size. Miss Chun, I think your grandmother was hiding rough stones that would make most jewelers weep. He picked up his phone. I'm calling a gemologist I trust. Can you stay? Nora thought of the bakery, of the shift she was missing, of the $13.50 an hour she desperately needed. Then she thought of the stones glittering in their velvet nest, of Grandma Dottie's careful hands hiding them away, of Janet's words. Don't let him back in. I'll stay, she said. The gemologist arrived in 40 minutes. Dr. Sarah Winters wore jeans and moved like someone who'd spent a lifetime handling priceless things. She set up a portable lab on Bernard's workbench, scales, loupes, spectrometers, lights that made the stones glow like they held captive stars. Tell me everything about your grandmother, she said, not looking up from the first stone. Nora perched on a stool, watching those careful hands. She came from Hong Kong in '78. Alone. She never talked about what she left behind. My mom said Grandma showed up with one suitcase and this jewelry box. That's it. What did she do for work? Seamstress. Alterations, mostly. Wedding dresses, fancy suits. She worked out of her apartment. Dr. Winters made a soft sound. She rotated the stone under magnification, made notes, moved to the next. The process took 3 hours. Nora's stomach growled. She ignored it. Finally, Dr. Winters sat back. Bernard, call your insurance company. Then call building security. Sarah, I'm serious. These need to be in a vault within the hour. She turned to Nora. Your grandmother was carrying uncut diamonds. 12 stones, ranging from 48 to 72 carats. The quality is extraordinary. Type IIA, which means they're chemically pure. The color grades are D through F, essentially colorless. Nora's mouth went dry. What does that mean? It means each stone, once cut properly, would be worth between $15 and $30 million. These 12 together? You're looking at a minimum of $250 million. At auction, with the right provenance story, possibly $280 or $90 million. The number was too big. It slid off Nora's brain like water off glass. That's not possible. It's very possible. And it explains why your grandmother hid them. Dr. Winters' voice gentled. In 1978, Hong Kong was preparing for the handover to China. Wealthy families were moving assets out of the country. Your grandmother likely worked for someone very rich, perhaps as a seamstress in their household. When they fled, she either helped them or... She paused. Or they entrusted these to her. She would have given them back. If someone asked, she would have. Maybe no one survived to ask. Dr. Winters met her eyes. The late 70s were chaotic. Families scattered. People disappeared. Your grandmother might have waited decades for someone to claim these. When no one did, she kept them safe. For you. Nora felt tears building. She blinked them back. What do I do now? First, vault. Then lawyer. Not just your divorce attorney, an estate lawyer. Then we discuss authentication, documentation, and sales strategy. Dr. Winters smiled. Miss Chen, your life just changed. But you need to be smart about how you handle this. If you're wondering how Nora protects her fortune from her ex-husband, subscribe now, because Marcus is about to get a very expensive shock. The vault at First National smelled like metal and old money. Nora signed papers she barely read, watched a bank officer place the velvet drawer in a safety deposit box, accepted a key. We'll meet insurance documentation within 14 days, the officer said. I'll have it, Dr. Winters promised. Outside, on the busy street, Nora leaned against a parking meter and tried to breathe. People rushed past. Cars honked. Everything looked the same, but the world had split open. Her phone buzzed. Marcus, seriously need to come by. Left some important stuff. Tonight? Nora stared at the message. What had he left? What could possibly matter more than the stones he knew nothing about? She typed, everything of yours is already gone. Don't contact me again. Her phone rang immediately. She answered, Nora, don't be difficult. There's a box in the hall closet. I need it. What box? Just, it's mine, okay? Some things from my mom. I forgot about it. Liar. Marcus's mother was alive and well in Florida. But Nora's pulse quickened. What was he really looking for? Fine. I'll leave it outside the door. Tomorrow. Don't knock. She hung up before he could argue. Then she called. Janet. He's fishing, Janet said immediately. He heard something or guessed something. Maybe he talked to a friend who knew your grandmother had valuables. Don't let him in. Don't engage. I already put the stones in a vault. Good. Keep them there. And Nora? We need to finalize this divorce immediately, before he has any idea what you're sitting on. The papers were signed on a Wednesday. Nora walked out of the courthouse with her copy of the decree, the Honda keys, and a check for $30,000. Marcus hadn't shown up, just his lawyer, looking bored. It was done. 7 years of marriage dissolved in 20 minutes of signatures. Her phone buzzed as she reached her car. Unknown number. She answered warily. Mrs. Harrison? This is Alexander Strand from Sotheby's. Dr. Winters shared your contact information. I understand you have several stones available for authentication and potential sale. I'd like to schedule a meeting. Nora sat in the Honda, watching people stream in and out of the courthouse. How did you hear about this already? The gemstone world is very small. 12 type IIA diamonds of this size don't appear often. Frankly, they don't appear ever. Ms. Harrison, I'm prepared to fly to you tomorrow. We should discuss options before other houses start calling. Other houses. Options. Words that meant her life was splitting into before and after. Tomorrow at 2, Nora said. I'll text you the address. That night, in her tiny studio, Nora opened the other boxes from Grandma Dottie's apartment. Quilts that smelled like lavender. Photo albums showing a young woman in a cheongsam, standing in front of a Hong Kong street market. Letters in Chinese that Nora couldn't read. And at the bottom of the last box, a journal. English, in Grandma's careful handwriting. The first entry was dated June 1978. I carry what they couldn't. Mrs. Wong pressed these into my hands the night before she disappeared. She said, if we don't make it, these go to you. Start over. Be free. I waited for her in San Francisco. She never came. Neither did Mr. Wong or their daughter. I read the news. I understand what happened. So I carry them still. For 40 years, I wait. No one comes. So I save them for the granddaughter I love. For Nora, who deserves the freedom these can buy. Nora pressed the journal to her chest and cried. For Grandma, for the ones who'd never made it out, for the weight of carrying someone else's hope across decades. Her phone lit up. Marcus, I know you found something. We were married when your grandmother died. I'm entitled to half. Nora's hand stopped shaking. She texted back. Divorce was final this morning. You're entitled to nothing. Lose this number. Then she blocked him and opened her laptop. She had work to do. Alexander Strand arrived in a town car wearing a suit that probably cost more than Nora's yearly rent. They met at Janet's office, neutral ground, lawyers present, everything documented. I've reviewed Dr. Winters's preliminary assessment, Alexander said, opening a leather portfolio. Sotheby's is prepared to offer exclusive auction representation. Our estimate for the complete collection, properly cut and set, is $289 million. The number landed like a physical thing. Janet squeezed Nora's hand under the table. That assumes optimal cutting, Alexander continued. We'd recommend a master cutter, someone who's worked with stones of this significance. The process takes months, but the result would be 12 museum-quality diamonds, each with its own story. The provenance alone, refugees from Hong Kong, hidden for 40 years, discovered by the granddaughter. It's extraordinary. What about taxes? Nora asked. Her voice sounded distant. Janet answered. Estate taxes were paid when your grandmother died, based on the declared value of her possessions. These stones weren't in that inventory because you didn't know they existed. We'll need to file amended returns, but the stones themselves are yours free and clear. Sale proceeds will be taxed as capital gains, roughly 23% federal plus state. You'll walk away with approximately $220 million. Nora thought of the bakery, of the 4 a.m. shifts kneading dough until her hands cramped. She thought of Marcus, of giving up her 20s to put him through business school while she worked retail. She thought of the studio apartment where the radiator clanked and the bathroom door wouldn't close. I want 10% to go to refugee organizations, she said. Specifically groups helping people get out of Hong Kong and China. And I want to fund a foundation in Grandma Dottie's name. Full-ride scholarships for first-generation immigrant women. Can we do that? Alexander smiled. We can do anything you want, Miss Chan. The next 6 months moved like a beautiful dream. The Stones went to Antwerp, to a cutter whose family had worked with diamonds for 5 generations. Nora visited once, watched him study the rough with an intensity that bordered on religious. Each stone tells me how it wants to be cut, he said. I don't decide. I listen. The largest stone, 72 carats rough, became a 48-carat emerald-cut diamond that seemed to hold an entire galaxy inside its facets. The smallest became a perfect 20-carat round brilliant that caught light like captured fire. While she waited, Nora quit the bakery. Not with anger. She gave 4 weeks' notice and trained her replacement. On her last day, the owner hugged her. I heard rumors, she said. Don't know if they're true. But Nora? You deserve every good thing. Nora moved into a 2-bedroom apartment with a dishwasher and radiators that didn't clank. She hired an estate lawyer, a financial advisor, and an accountant who specialized in sudden wealth. She started planning the Dorothy Chin Foundation with the same careful attention Grandma had used on wedding dress hems. And when Marcus's lawyer called demanding a meeting, claiming fraud and hidden assets, Janet shut him down with 3 words. Divorce was final. Mrs. Harrison discovered the diamonds 2 days after the decree was signed. Janet explained in the follow-up letter. Your client has no legal claim. Any further contact will be considered harassment. Marcus tried calling from different numbers. Nora blocked them all. He showed up at her new apartment building once. Security walked him out. He posted on social media that she'd stolen from him, that she'd hidden assets. His friends believed him until the auction announcements started appearing in international news. Sotheby's to auction historic Hong Kong diamond collection. EST $289 million. The story went viral. News crews tracked Nora down. She gave exactly 1 interview to a journalist who'd written thoughtfully about the Hong Kong diaspora. My grandmother carried these stones across an ocean, Nora said. She kept them safe for 40 years, waiting for their owners to claim them. When no one did, she gave them to me. Every penny from this sale honors her sacrifice and the family who trusted her. That's what matters. The auction was held on a Tuesday in New York. Nora wore a dress Grandma Dottie had made 20 years ago, blue silk with careful stitching, altered to fit. She sat in the front row, hands folded, watching strangers bid obscene amounts of money for stones that had lived in a false-bottom jewelry box. The 48-carat emerald cut went for $31 million to a Dubai collector. The 20-carat round brilliant went for $19 million to a museum. One by one, the stones found homes. The bidding was fast, fierce, breathtaking. When the hammer fell on the final piece, the total was $294 million. Alexandra found Nora in the lobby afterward, both of them slightly stunned. After fees and taxes, you're looking at $227 million, she said. Nora, you just became one of the wealthiest self-made women in America. Not self-made, Nora said quietly. Grandma-made. The money hit her accounts in waves over the following weeks. Nora watched the numbers climb, millions piling onto millions, and felt oddly detached. It didn't feel real until she wrote the first check. $20 million to the International Rescue Committee's Hong Kong initiative. The second check went to establish the Dorothy Chin Foundation. $50 million in the endowment. Full scholarships for immigrant women pursuing any degree, any field. No restrictions except one. They had to write an essay about a family member who'd sacrificed for their future. The applications, when they opened, numbered in the thousands. 6 months after the auction, Nora stood in the foundation's new headquarters, a renovated building in Grandma Dottie's old neighborhood. The walls held blown-up photographs of Grandma as a young woman, her careful hands working silk and satin. The first cohort of scholars gathered for orientation. 20 women, ages 19 to 47, from 12 countries. They looked tired and hopeful and fierce, like Grandma must have looked, stepping off a plane in 1978 with nothing but a suitcase and a jewelry box. My grandmother taught me that carrying someone else's hope isn't a burden, Nora told them. It's a privilege. She carried the Wong family's hope for 40 years. Now I get to carry yours. Not because I'm generous, but because that's what we do. We carry each other. After the reception, Nora drove to the cemetery. She'd had a new headstone installed, black granite, simple, with Grandma's name in English and Chinese. She sat on the grass beside it, legs crossed like she used to as a kid. I think I finally understand, she said to the stone, to the woman beneath it. You didn't hide the diamonds because they were valuable. You hid them because they were someone else's hope. You were just a keeper. And now I am too. Her phone buzzed. The foundation director. Just got our first graduate school acceptance. Harvard Law. Nora smiled. Around her, spring flowers bloomed in careful rows. The cemetery was quiet except for birds and distant traffic. She pulled the old jewelry box from her back, empty now except for the rhinestone dragonfly brooch and the tangled gold chain. Some things weren't worth millions. Some things were worth more. She pinned the dragonfly to her jacket, felt its weight settle over her heart, and drove home through the city Grandma Dottie had made home 47 years ago. The apartment was waiting, not the studio with the broken door, but the place she'd chosen. Hers. Bought with money that had traveled across oceans and decades, through hands that had known sacrifice and silence and stubborn hope. That night, Nora started writing. Not a journal, a book. Grandma Dottie's story, the Wong story, the story of wealth that meant nothing until it meant freedom. The first chapter began. She carried what they couldn't, and in carrying it, she saved more than diamonds. Nora typed until dawn, words flowing like the fortune she'd inherited, abundant, purposeful, meant to be shared. Outside her window, the city woke up. Somewhere out there, 20 women were starting new lives on scholarships funded by stones that had waited 40 years to fulfill their purpose. And in a cemetery across town, beneath black granite and spring flowers, Dorothy Chun rested. Her burden lifted. Her granddaughter finally free. The jewelry box sat on Nora's desk, empty and perfect. Just a box now. Just wood and velvet and memory. Just everything that mattered.